So what we have here is a rescue situation. Now, believe it or not, these two ponytail palms were bought on the same day at the same place. And well, this is mine. That was outside all summer long, had nice water, fertilizer, plenty of sunshine, and look how healthy it is, guys. It's nice flowing leaves on it. The caudex here is nice and firm. Very nice, very nice. But this one here, well, it kind of got neglected. And so my friend of mine gave me this plant, said do your best, see if you can bring it back to life. So that's what we're gonna do today, guys. We're gonna show you how to repot this thing, what to do, and give you some just basic tips on how to rehab like rescue plants. If someone gives you one or you buy something on clearance, what are the first things you look for? What do you need to do and how do you do it? So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first things first, when you get a rescue plant or a hand-me-down or something like that, the first thing you want to check for is disease and or pests. Now, is this plant suffering because it's covered in mealybugs? Does it have a scale? Does it have anything else that might be afflicting it? Right now, no. This is just a severe lack of water, okay? It is very, very shriveled. It's kind of loose in the pot. I mean, the roots are really not that established, but it is still green. It is still attempting to grow, so that's good. So I don't see any disease or any kind of apparent things wrong with it like that. So that's step one. If you do have a plant that is covered in disease, you might just want to get rid of it. It may not be worth it. You don't want to risk getting, all of your other nice, beautiful, healthy plants like this. You don't want to risk getting those infected. So before you bring a plant in, make sure you quarantine it a little bit. Make sure it is safe to do so. That being said, let's go ahead and get this guy out of the pot. This can be more difficult with one hand than I think, but let's go ahead and just kind of pull it out. If I can get it out here like this. I don't think there's many roots on it. Yeah, there's a little more roots than I thought. Let me go ahead and pause this and I'll dump it out and we'll come back. All right, so it's coming out pretty nicely here. A little bit better look at the roots here. It's way too much soil around this plant. Now, look at all this. This is unnecessary, especially for a plant that is this small. Overpotting can be just as bad as underpotting sometimes, guys, because you can actually increase too much water in the soil, which will lead to rotting as well. So let me just get this out. And it wants to come. Here we go. All right, so there is the plant. Let's go ahead and look at it now up close. Doesn't appear to have any rotten on the stem. The roots seem to be pretty healthy. You can tell they're pretty dry for the most part, but they're not black and mushy and kind of indicating any kind of like rotting. So those are pretty healthy roots overall. But like I said, this plant basically is just suffering from just lack of water, maybe lack of sunlight. And here you go. Now look at this. See how much soil's in this? This container here is way too big for this little guy right there. So we're gonna go ahead and repot this into a smaller container with good drainage and talk about the soil mix you need to use for your ponytail palm. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. So this little container here is gonna be just about perfect for this plant. So you don't see the roots here. You kind of want to eyeball it, put it about like this. Now this does not go under the soil, okay? It's not a root. It's not like a bulb, right? So this actually sits on top of the soil. So you got to picture this plant sitting about here, and there is plenty of space in here for the roots to kind of recover and to kind of fill in. So this would be just fine for right now till the plant recovers and eventually may need to be repotted into a larger container. So let's go ahead and talk about the soil mixture we're going to use for this ponytail palm that you can apply at your own house whenever you repot your own ponytail palm. So let's talk about that. Here we go. So your ponytail palm will thrive best in very well draining soil. Okay, if this sits in wet soil, it will rot the caudex or the little base of the plant here. Okay, this right here, if it gets soaking wet, it can rot. So you want this to be free draining. However, they do need a lot of water. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right? So it needs to be watered a bit, but it also needs to be well draining. So that in mind, what I'm gonna do here is this blend works for me, guys. So this is just some standard potting soil, about 1 part of this. And to that, I'm gonna add some perlite. Make sure you use it in a well-ventilated area because you can get a little dust from the perlite, not good for the lungs. I always add a little bit of vermiculite, just my preference. Some people don't like using it. I think it works quite well. And the star of the show, which will help you keep a very, very well-draining soil, this is pumice. Now you can use whatever size. Some people use really coarse, large pieces of pumice. It may or may not be necessary in your container, depending how big it is. You want to get as much soil as you can in there. I think if you use too big of a piece of pumice and rock, that it can actually, well, it will be very free draining. This guys do need some kind of soil to latch onto to kind of grow. So there you go. That's a nice little mixture, and you can tell that if you try to clump it together, obviously this is pretty dry. It's going to fall right apart. This is going to drain very, very easily, very well. Has a little bit of nutrients in there. This plant is going to be doing just fine in this new pot with this new soil. It's going to love it. So let me go ahead and get that into the new container and show you a little more tips of what we're going to do to make this thing have the best success possible. Now, if you see here, this plant is roughly, I buried the roots, but the plant still has some room to grow to fill in here. But what I like to do at this time, add a little bit, just a couple of pebbles of Osmocote. You can use whatever fertilizer you want, organic, preferably, if you can find it. But I like to put this down here in the root zone because it's as it breaks down and dissolves into the soil, it's going to be at the root zone. So you don't really want to concentrate a lot of your fertilizers on the top of the soil. I think this works better in my experience. Now, again, this stuff is very, very loose and crumbly, so I just kind of fill it in like this, and it's kind of hard with one hand. But then as you fill it in, I kind of shake it like this. And I'll do this finished product here in a second, guys, and show you the final product. But there you go. And after that, you kind of tap it in till the plant actually sits on top of the soil like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and backfill around this and show you what it looks like when I'm done. And we'll talk about what to water it with, how frequently to water, and where to put it in your house for the best success. So the final step in this procedure here is going to be to water. Now I use rainwater, guys. I collect rainwater outside for my rain barrels for all my house plants. Typically your house plants are not going to respond well to tap water because of all the chemicals and things like that in it. But look how easily that drained, guys. I would just pour the water in and it drained just like that. That's what you want. If the soil takes a long time to drain or stays super, super heavy and saturated, that's not going to be good for your ponytail palm. So with this new soil, a little bit of fertilizer, slow release down there by the root zone. I'm going to put this in it's indoors. It's November. It's dark, daylight savings time, so you're not getting a lot of sunlight. But put this in the most sunniest location you possibly can. This is not a plant you want to put in the dark. This is not like a philodendron or something like that that can tolerate a low light situation. These do grow outdoors in Mexico. They're native habitat in a semi-tropical area, so they do need some sunlight. And again, if you can give it humidity, if you have a humidifier, they will enjoy that just as well. However, like I said, they like water, but they don't like to be wet. So this right here, I'm gonna just dump this water out. It does not need to sit in the water. I'm just letting it sit here just now so the soil can get nice and saturated because I just put the new soil in there. And once that's done, guys, put it back in the sunshine, and I will give you maybe a 2 or 3 month update on this to see how well it has recovered. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully if you have a plant you're trying to rescue, some of these tips were, helpful, beneficial, and can set you on the path of healthy growing and recovery for your houseplants. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope this was beneficial in some way to you. If it did help you out, please give this video a nice thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time here at the Hillside. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.